Hello, everyone. I'm Chester44, also known as Falai, and welcome to this Let's Play of Pillars of Eternity. Last episode, we performed the Rising. Not exactly an easy thing to do, but it was done. Now that we have Ondra's witness, let's speak to the High Abbot and see what he has to say.
Is it done then? And do you have the witness?
It is done.
I know what it is to use that relic to call the flood. Even though it is necessary, even though it is merciful, it will stay with you. Always. One day it will be a new Tidebringer's turn to call the flood, when I am down there. And then another for you. Only then will we be free of it. Free of the memory.
He nods and puts a hand on your shoulder. The touch is tentative, and he withdraws his hand almost immediately.
Come, meet me upstairs outside the reliquary. There is one more thing to be done to complete the Rising.
Meet you upstairs outside the reliquary. We shall go at once. And perhaps, hopefully, we'll be able to stop this army. Oh! We need to go to the top of the abbey here. Or is that not where... Oh, down here, my mistake. Alright, let's head upstairs.
The Veil of Tears is only to be crossed by the High Abbot. Ondra's witness is the key. Through the veil is the reliquary. When we are done here, pass into the reliquary, and your responsibilities will be revealed to you. The final step of the Rising requires that you use Ondra's witness to seal me below with my brothers and sisters.
Of course. Kyoto says nothing for a moment, lost in thought. High Abbot Kyoto? He snaps out of his trance.
Forgive me. The Rising. The final step.
He clears his throat.
A slight correction. You will not be sealing us in the halls of silence.
The other Ondrites look at each other with furrowed brows.
What? After all that?
The only way I will allow you to become the High Abbot is if you can kill me, and those who stand with me, here and now.
That wasn't what you said earlier.
I have made up my mind. Have you ever swum in the open ocean, Tidebringer?
Yes, I have.
Then perhaps you will relate. When you swim in the ocean, you are at the mercy of the current and the waves. It requires a great deal of trust. When I was a young man in Rawatai, I would paddle out in a small kayak and go spearfishing in the Gulf. One day, when I was swimming, I was caught in a rip current and pulled miles from my boat.
Dangerous thing.
I stayed afloat long as I could, but there was no getting to safety. It was night, and the water was black. I took a final breath and sunk below the surface. Then there came a glow beneath me. It was a moon ray the size of a caravel, if you can imagine such a creature. I saw it swimming up toward me, and even as things began to grow dark around me, I knew I was safe.
Go on.
I awoke on shore. That day, I pledged myself to Ondra, because I knew she had seen me safely through, and that she always would. The glow of that moon ray has always been a beacon in my life. If I am sealed beneath, I will be forced to part with it, and 1,000 other memories that make me what I am.
And there's the cruelty of Ondra.
I will die, afraid and alone.
What about everything you said? About trusting Ondra, surrendering your memories to her?
I thought I would be ready. My trust in Ondra was absolute. But I am weaker than I imagined. I will defeat you and stay on as High Abbot, or I will die here, knowing who I am. Either would be better.
Monks of Ondra, you are right to doubt your leader's words. He no longer follows the will of our goddess. No one responds, but a few of the monks exchange looks. You seem to have made an impact, at least with some of them. Kyoto turns to them.
I have seen what lies in store. I do not wish that fate for any of you. Let us serve Ondra in other ways.
Most of the Ondrites nod. A few are non-committal. Kyoto turns back and locks eyes with you. Come. One final test, Tidebringer. And some of them have decided not to join him. Take care of the Faithfinder, and we'll deal with Kyoto last. Once we have... There we go. Now deal with Kyoto.
That's it!
And he is down. Oh. Ah. It's the two survivors who leave. Robes of the Tidebringer. Unique light armor. Grants Martyr on Unconscious. Okay, that could be useful for something. And Ondrite Tidal Fist Mask. Interesting. We've also got a Ring of Deflection and a Spell Defense bonus thing and a Monk outfit. Oh, also... Okay, just some regular loot. And the door is open. That is a big skull. We will go there shortly. Let's loot whatever there happens to be around here. We'll do that first. At least some of the Ondrites survived and are probably going to report in on what they do, what happened. And back here we have... Okay. Right then. Let's see what the hell this massive skull is. Clearly it's the head of the massive creature that we've seen the bones of everywhere else. What else could it possibly be? The question remains, however. What is it? And that goes back down to the Halls of Presence. That probably goes right to the Abbot's room. The Reliquary.
A goddess who buys faith by hiding secrets is sure to have a few of her own. We should not be surprised.
Judging by the distance to the nearby skull, a tremendous force severed this vertebrae from the rest of its giant body. The cracks on this jawbone suggested a forceful blow separated it from its skull. Oh, I didn't see that. The strange crystal formations of this rock, intact even after their collision against the thick bones of this giant skull, seemed to radiate with a warmth of their own. And this leads to something up top, interestingly enough. As does this. Well, let us investigate the reliquary first. Lodged between rows of crystalline rock, a large fragment of metal protrudes. It looks as though it might be possible to pry it loose. Pull out the metal fragment. At your touch, the splinter of metal begins to glow orange. Heat surges up your hands and arms and envelops you with such intensity you feel as though you are melting down. The heat spreads to the world around you, turns it orange and then yellow and then white. The ground, the sky, everything around you drips in molten globs and begins to take shape beneath you, as if in an invisible mold. You and the shard are the last things to melt and fall, and your addition to the molten pool completes the shape of an immense hammer. The metal cools as quickly as it had heated. The handle is gripped now by two great leathery hands, and the hammer is cocked back over a shoulder as broad and mottled as a hilltop. The hammer whirls around and heaves the hammer, and you are flying upward for what seems like ages into the airless blackness above. As you spin, you catch glimpses of a rock large enough to be a moon. It is close, far too close to the world. The force of the impact shatters hammer and stone alike. The rock is redirected outward, but a section of the front face is cleaved off and begins to fall, splintering apart at the cracks. In 100,000 fragments blossoming outward in all directions, debris showers the atmosphere, trailing smoke and fire. Below, land and sea are far off, but gradually rising up. Look to the sea. The largest of the fragments, wide as a city, barrels downward in a fiery cocoon. Its size reduces as the edges immolate, but it won't burn up in time. It lands silently in the distant ocean, sending a column of water skyward and radiating ripples that spread like wrinkles in fabric. Then the sound comes tearing up through the sky. It sounds like thunder. Look to the land. Features are becoming clearer by the moment as you streak toward the earth. You are lodged in an enormous boulder, falling among other smaller fragments that heat and burst around you on all sides. Beneath you, snow-capped mountains rise up, dotted here and there by cities of stone and Ondra. The impact will be the destruction of all of them. The shadow of your rock fragment is visible now, getting larger by the second. You are moments away from striking the ground when a massive shape throws itself into your path. The last thing you hear sounds like another rumbling impact, but that isn't what it is. It's a chuckle, relieved, breathless. You hear two words.
Made it.
Everything goes dark. You open your eyes. The metal hammer fragment has come free and you now hold it in your hands. It is warm to the touch. The air around you is suddenly turbulent, spiteful. A cold, damp wind whips your face. Salt crystals collect in your nostrils and the creases of your eyes. The floor below you becomes blue-gray and glassy, churning and roiling, and when you fall, you crash through water. Violent waves hurl and spin you. Something slithers around your ankles, seizes you with incredible strength, and drags you down into silty depths. When the pulling stops, you are hovering at the center of an endless blue abyss. You can see neither surface nor floor. You seem to be facing downward, but there's no way to be sure. A voice sounds from everywhere at once, and the immense pressure wave of each utterance sends you reeling.
Deceitful wretch! Grave robber! You who dig for that which you did not bury, speak! Explain yourself and be judged.
I seek a means of defeating an army that threatens my lands.
You seek what is mine, what was rightfully lost.
The outburst propels you, sending you end over end.
Your actions speak for themselves. The battery opened, the forge ignited. You set free souls that hid from me, that stole from me and evaded my judgment. The dwarves sealed their own fate. The forge was meant to be forgotten. And now, here you are again, denying peace to the buried.
The turbulence around you calms. Silt settles like a slow exhalation, and the vast dark seascape beyond the murk fades in. Rays of light trickle down from far above onto green-gold columns of kelp that rise from the depths and sway back and forth in the current. Fish and mollusks patrol them in groups of hundreds and thousands. The nearest pass you with watchful eyes. What do you mean the forge is meant to be forgotten?
It was never meant for mortal use. Such power, such truths lie within it. It can bring only ruin. When the Pargrunin came to the White March, they were peaceful. They shared common beliefs and purpose. Their visions for the forge tore them apart. You have seen this for yourself.
I have.
They would have destroyed themselves in the end.
How convenient that we'll never know.
You need only look to the history of your own civilization for assurance. How many wars, how many fallen empires might have been averted if only their leaders could forget the objects of their ambition. I mourned the loss of the Pargrunin. Misfortune brought them here. They did not deserve to end so soon.
What does it matter if something is remembered or forgotten? It's in the past in either case.
Memories are the spirits of the past. You of all people should know their sway on the present, Watcher.
They are ours to bear whether we care to or not.
Mortals measure the worth of their lives in memory. Who will remember me? How long until I am forgotten? Memory governs every thought, informs every choice. It can fuel passion, understanding, love, or it can create obsession, madness. You have seen it plague many souls in your travels. Consider the old Watcher who inherited unspeakable crimes from birth. Or the young woman who committed herself to Brackenbury for love of things she remembered she had. Or the fisherman whose life became a sentence the day he killed his sister. Or the Glonfathen boy for whom an old medallion was worth more than all the fruits of his labors. They could be free from their burdens, if only they could forget.
Their problems go deeper than memory. Simply forgetting does not make them go away.
For some, perhaps. But for many, the memory is all that remains of it.
The light filtering down from the surface seems to focus on Maneha.
Would your life not have a better course, Amawa, if the faults of another lifetime were not dragging you down?
I used to think so. But turning your back on something doesn't make it go away.
Precisely.
Just makes it easier for someone to stick a knife in your spine.
The source of those wounds is long gone. The memory was all that could do you harm.
There was value in the memory, despite the harm.
Even when problems have run their course, memory can be the stone that sinks you into the abyss.
Still not sure I agree, but no matter.
Your past has not overwhelmed you yet. Wait. Was there something else, mortal?
What are the bones of one god doing sealed in the temple of another?
Do not play coy with a god, Watcher. I know you have seen his death. I feel it whenever a forgotten thing is taken from me. Abidin did not deserve to die here. This place, it was the least I could do to give his remains some privacy.
The least you could do.
The least I could do for ending his life.
Light drains from your surroundings. The kelp forest becomes a copse of black tendrils, stark and twisted as regret.
I called the moon down to me. Ione brother. It was against his wishes. He would not listen to reason. Would not listen to me. In his madness, he splintered the moon. But it was not enough. The greatest of the fragments still fell toward that which he would protect. In the end, he took position where it would fall, and absorbed the impact himself.
I thought Belatha and Kalda were the moons.
Ione brother is their smaller sibling, tiny next to them.
Small enough that the world would survive its impact. But why the temple? Why the secrecy?
That time has been forgotten now. And so his death belongs to me. Everything he was before the impact.
But you slew another god. Surely the other gods know this. Surely Abaddon must know. Current surges through the kelp bed, pushing each plant sideways like saplings in a hurricane, and propelling you backward amidst a torrent of wayward fish.
No! He cannot know! He must never know! Understand, he was not always as he is now. His body was not all he left behind. He was devoted to progress and industry from the beginning. But so too was he devoted to preservation. In those times he would let nothing go. Nothing could be forgotten. His will was iron long before his body.
Preservation. So that was why he went so far to oppose you.
We agreed long ago, all of us, not to alter the course of Kith's civilization. Not directly. Not unless there were no other choice. But in this matter, there was no other choice. He understood that as well as anyone. It was for duty that he opposed it. I would have stopped it if I could, but by then it was too late.
What was he trying to preserve?
Time has finished much of what I started. I cannot tell you that, mortal, for fear of undoing all its costly work.
You make it sound as though you were the sane one.
The other gods knew what had to be done. but they lacked the will to go through with it. Even gods have their attachments. To erase all knowledge of such a grand thing required unthinkable devastation. The Eastern Reach, Deadfire. Mine was the only solution. When I called down Ione Brother, they remained silent. Even Abaddon. He knew it was for the best, but he tried to stop it all the same. Perhaps deep down I knew he would. I should have expected it. I could have stopped it.
I want to
You
ask
may
you
ask.
something else. Why did you
The
pull down
great
Ione
conundrum of a
Brother?
god is how close to become with your subjects. Too far and they lose hope. Too close and your own judgment fails. Civilizations are meant to ebb and flow. Allow them to persist for too long in power or knowledge, and you invite catastrophe.
You say that, and yet our civilizations have lasted as long as they have. Many lasting for very long times indeed. Although I've heard some arguments that great powers, great civilizations, the great leaders, they only remain at the top for an average of 250 years. Roughly around there. Fun fact, the US is about 245 years. Something like that.
There was a time when we let our sympathies get the better of us. When memories were allowed to persist that should have been washed away. The other gods could not be moved to act. I did what had to be done without them.
You're talking about the Engwithans.
I speak of what is forgotten. I failed that day, but my purpose was achieved in the end. I will not dredge up the memory to satisfy idle curiosity.
And the army that destroyed the dwarves, the Eyeless, are they yours?
What the world casts aside, I take into my care. A thing may be forgotten, but it is never alone as long as I am here. They were lost children, abandoned, fixed on a purpose that no longer had meaning. I took them in, gave them new purpose. I did not create them, but yes, they are mine.
They are Abaddon's. I saw them forged.
They were his once, I won't deny it. He created them as assistants to carry out his work on Aora. But he has long been the overseer of progress in the world. Leaving things behind has always been his way. I allow him to leave his past in my care, so that it does not hold him back.
You and Abaddon have a unique connection, then.
I suppose we do. But then, the gods have always been able to accomplish far greater things when working together.
Nearby, you see a shark pass through a school of fish. The fish scatter, evading the predator. I had something else to discuss about the Eyeless.
Speak your mind.
You haven't given me the whole truth about the Eyeless, have you?
Careful what you accuse a god of, mortal.
The water around you is suddenly icy. You can feel it sap the heat from your veins. Abaddon didn't abandon those creatures. You made him forget them. Otherwise, he might remember how he died.
And what if I did, mortal? It does him no harm to forget. On the contrary, it lifts a burden. If Abaddon remembered, it would threaten the harmony between the gods. It was not so long ago that conflict between us led to disaster in your world, and the death of one of our number. Memory is but an image we create to make sense of the present. It carries no truth or meaning but what we ascribe. A slight alteration to it is a small price to pay for peace.
It's wrong to deceive him. I expected better from a god.
Memory deceives. It distorts. It reimagines. This is no different. The peace between the gods is already fragile. It will not withstand another shock. Speak your mind.
So what new purpose did you give them?
Some things that are forgotten must never be remembered. Not merely for the benefit of those who forgot, but for the entire world. There can be no second thoughts, no sympathy or stays of execution. The eyeless were born to fulfill this task, though even their creator did not know it. They are single-minded and relentless.
You mean they kill those who remember what you want forgotten?
They do not flinch when called upon to do what is necessary. Kith owe them a great debt for the troubles they have hidden away. You may ask.
You say on one hand you had to call down Ioni Brother, yet on the other that you would have stopped it for Abaddon.
The death of a god is a calamity. You are living in the aftermath of one such death. Surely you can understand.
You have said that sympathy can't get in the way. What about yours for Abaddon,
He deserved better. Of all the other gods, he was the only one who acted, who held to his convictions.
The goddess of relentlessness must have appreciated such a quality.
Yes. I admired him for that.
But it's more than that. You loved him. The pull and push of the current become long and heavy, like a sigh.
Whatever he was to me, it was not meant to last. Always our duty is to Eora first. I knew he opposed what I intended, that he would wish to preserve what I meant to destroy. I knew it would cause a rift that might never be mended, but I never imagined he'd go so far. I never imagined it would mean I would never know him, as I once did.
If he doesn't remember dying, why not begin again with him?
Because it might cause him to remember. No, mortal. Better that we should exist as we are now. What happened once must never happen again. Bad enough that I am cursed to remember it. You may ask.
I need you to call off the eyeless.
On the contrary, mortal, their work must continue. Far too much was uncovered while they lay dormant.
They draw attention to the very things you wish hidden. In my dreams, I have seen them swarming over the Deerwood.
Those who know too much of the White Forge will be washed clean from Eora, and then the eyeless shall rest once more.
This isn't some lone tribe of dwarves. The Forge sees visitors from all over now. The eyeless will tear the Deerwood apart. It will never be forgotten. The sea life around you stirs back and forth, agitated, restless.
Even if it is as you say, there is nothing that can be done. The eyeless do not think for themselves. They have only the purpose that is given to them. They do not stop until the purpose is fulfilled. They will not change course now for me or anyone. I am sorry.
This was your doing. You must intervene.
The interventions of gods seldom work out in anyone's favor. Our touch is too heavy. The world crumbles beneath it. It is why we so often enlist the help of mortals. They execute our wishes with greater care. I have done far too much already.
Kyoto said they could be called off.
Only if those they pursue are no longer a threat. The Raid Sarens were stopped before they could take the White Forge. In your case, Watcher, you are well beyond that now. And if what you say is true, then the Deerwood is as well.
If you won't stop them, then I will.
Your determination is commendable. But the eyeless number in the thousands. You will need more than strength or luck.
Well, the help of a god would be most welcome.
I will give you what aid I can. I bade the eyeless to remain hidden when at rest. They are gathered in the hollow of a great rock, splintered from Ioni Brother. It lies in a flooded crater known as Kairin's Scar. Know, too, that they were built to answer the call of their master's hammer. When they hear it strike, they come to its aid. If you were to take that piece of his hammer from here and reshape it in Abaddon's forge into a likeness of the original, you might be able to call them to you. But destroying them would be another matter. I know of one way, but only from the center of the Lion's Den. Only with their master's hammer in your service. If you can do all this, if you can reshape what remains of Abaddon's hammer and bring it inside their lair, I can instruct you there on what you would need to do.
It would be easier if you told me now.
Nothing I say will make sense until you see it for yourself, mortal. We share a common purpose now. I will see you through it when the time comes.
Very well. I will remake the hammer in the White Forge and stop the eyeless.
If you do not, be assured, they will come for you as they did for the Pargrunen.
An uneasy turbulence disturbs the calm like an unwelcome thought.
Careful as you approach the lake. When I claimed the eyeless, I made sure they would not be discovered while they slept. Many of my most devoted followers stand watch there. They will not allow you near. And there is something far worse. Something more fearsome and dangerous than any eyeless. Let us hope you do not attract its attention.
More dangerous? You can't just add that in there casually. In place of an answer, a sudden surge in the current from beneath sends you hurtling upwards. The surface above you approaches fast, shifting and glimmering like quicksilver. You emerge soaking wet on the stone floor of the reliquary, grasping for breath as if you'd been holding it for hours. And so ends that, I suppose. We must recreate Abaddon's hammer. With the fragment of Abaddon's hammer I retrieved from the Abbey, I have enough metal to make a kith-sized version of the original. That'll be good, at least. Alright. Still a little bit up here, interestingly enough. We have a new quest, so we can assign someone to this. I'll assign you to it. Grieving Mother. Sure, why not? And with that, I have to end this episode here. There's much we need to discuss. Next episode, we'll see if we can do something about reforging the hammer. Till then, I am Chester44, also known as Falai. That is Laniara, Maneha, Kana, Dorans, Aloth, and Sagani. This has been a Let's Play of Pillars of Eternity, and I shall see you all next time.